Tal Catran's speech about moving from great idea to kick-ass startup. Tal is a prominent figure in global innovation ecosystem. He founded 20 startup accelerators worldwide since 2012, which has rendered him a guru on building accelerators, hubs, and tech incubators. Over the years, Tal conducted over 70 cohorts, graduating more than 1,000 startups from his accelerators. Tal is a charismatic keynote speaker at major international conferences, as well as TEDx, Forbes magazine, and many other international conferences, where he shares his professional toolbox, mentors, motivates, and inspires other entrepreneurs around the globe. After the speech, we will continue with the award session and ceremony. Stay tuned.
Labadiana. First of all, I would like to congratulate all the participants in the Futurepreneurs for Ukraine. And I know today is your demo day. And again, congratulations for making it to the finals. And wish you a lot of good luck. But actually, this is just the beginning of your long journey towards building a startup, making it a big company, hopefully succeeding to conquer the world as we want. I would like to tell you a little bit about myself and then kind of dip in and discuss how really will you turn your great idea into a kick-ass startup and then actually build a business, build a company moving forward. So my beginning actually, I would say, was in the age of 17, which is like 36 years ago. At that time, if you made something new, it was not called a startup. And it was not so defined having technology, but definitely innovation. So I can definitely say for myself, I started very young. I would say my first technology startup was in 2003, which is like 20 years ago. And at the end, it was sold in 2012. And this is when my journey towards the startup or startup acceleration began. So how do we turn this idea that we have? Most of us have different ideas, different topics, things that we see every day or from time to time, and we say, hey, someone needs to do something about it. You as entrepreneurs, you are this special breed of people that actually see something and do something about it. So to begin with, we need to, as we say, decide or see or segment a problem. And then starts the journey of validation. So to begin with, looking at a problem, we need to investigate, we need to learn more about the problem. We need to be very knowledgeable, but at the same time, understand its impact both on business and both on social. We need to locate very clearly what is the target market that this problem holds, and maybe more specific is to understand who stands to be affected by the fact that the problem is not yet solved. We need to understand how big the problem is. We would like this problem to be shared by many, which means that we have a very big market. Then starts this process of validation, and this process of validation is super important. Validating you will follow validation as you go with your startup. Validation would mean that once this problem is relatively clear to you, you would need, as we said, to address the market and just ask them if they know about this problem. Does it relate to them? Don't need to say too much about the solution, meaning you need to say maybe generally what would be, but of course not how you will make it, and then just ask them, will they be willing to pay for this solution, which is very important. Then moving on from the problem side and validation, we go for the solution. So as of course you can imagine, the solution first of all needs to answer the problem on a basic level. Many times I find entrepreneurs decide about a problem and solution, but then before doing anything they grow it and grow it and grow it, and then they kind of lose focus. You need to be very, as we say, lean and mean. You need to be very focused on what you do. You're a one or two persons, that's it. You're very short on resources, hence you need to be very focused on what you do. What I also urge you to do is to describe this solution in simple words, meaning you don't need to make it too complicated, and you don't need to rush and start to develop it. First of all, align your line of thought. Understand in words that you can explain the simplest way possible what is the solution that you are going to make, and then think how you're going to make it. Again, I urge you to do that before you start programming. This is super essential. Then I would again advise to, in a way, try and work the solution manually. Meaning, so if you decided that you want to develop some kind of, algorithm, could be AI, it could be a platform of some sort, think in the end about the customers using it and try and offer the service or try and give the technology manually before you program anything. You need to let yourself do as much as you can. It sounds a little bit time consuming, but it will save you a lot down the road to understand at a very early stage, do you have something in your hands or this is just mumbo jumbo and it's going nowhere. Don't waste your time on things that clearly are not going to grow into a business, things that are people not going to pay for. That would not give you any viability of becoming a company or building a business out of it. Of course, business model, as we say, meaning how you're going to earn the money, is also very important to understand. So if you think about it for a minute, speaking about the problem and about the solution, it's not so much about rushing to develop straight away or developing this MVP. It is, you should give it more time to think it over, to explain it in simple words, to try and simulate it to your potential customers. Let them in a way touch it, but not really touch it. Meaning, okay, talk to us like you have the technology working, but actually behind the scene, you're gluing everything manually. As you know, probably you all went through exams sometime in your life. How important it is to read the question until the end and understand the question before you rush an answer. Most of us, we listen to half things and we rush to do, and in the end we find that we wasted time, we wasted money, we wasted potential, we wasted opportunity. Don't be like that. Being an entrepreneur does not mean that you need to be messy. It does not mean that you really need to push mountains and you need to bang your head into walls. This is not what it means. What it means still that you need to be structured. You need to make sense of things. This is super important and vital. Okay, once you have validated the problem and you have thought about the solution, and again, now you can explain it, then of course comes the stage of validation. You need to validate that the solution makes sense to your customers. Once that is done, we can continue moving on and, as we say, go under radar and develop. Develop as quick as you can something very slim, something very small, not too much code, not too much of anything, but it needs to do the basic of basic. And again, as I said, that even is not a must. If you can go out to the market and publish your services as an example or your platform and still make it behind the scene even manually, just to prove that you have something. I would also advise at this point, if you are going forward with the development, find yourself a potential customer that might be willing to become a design partner, meaning that you will team up with already established company that is for sure will be one of your best customers, but is willing to share with you along the time more about the problem, more about the expected solution or the best way or the preferable way for them as your potential customer to use your technology. Maybe they can help you. They can help you in way of giving you engineers and maybe giving you labs and giving you data that you need. All this information is super vital for you as a startup because you just don't have the time to spend. This is what we call a design partner, and you will do an agreement along the way, what they stand to gain from helping you, which is of course super important. Again, emphasizing, startups most of the time so much like their idea that they continue adding, as they understand the potential, more and more parts of this idea, and it's becoming too big. It also disfocuses you, meaning it takes you from the, as we say, focused state of mind on the solution you wanted to develop. Make sure that you stay on target. Make sure that you stay focused. It will save you a lot of time. Build a schedule. You need to have yourself a work plan, meaning, as I said in the beginning, being a startup is not a license to be messy. You need to be structured. You need to give yourself missions, and you need to put who is responsible to do that and what is the timeline. The timeline needs to be sensible. You cannot do things overnight. It's not just like that, but it needs to have a timeline. It needs to have a deadline that you say, I'm going to do this mission up to this. This is when we stop. We come together. We discuss. If there is a problem, don't wait with it. Flag it. Say I have a problem. Discuss it and move forward. Again, it needs to be very much structured. Okay. Moving on. Try and isolate background noises, we call it. You decided you want to go a certain way, go a certain way. Again, make it clear what's the target, make it clear what's the way, give it a timeline, give it a duration of time, and then you go this way, meaning you shut your ears, you close your eyes, and you just move forward towards this target at the timeline and duration and missions as you've decided. You came to the point, you stop, you do evaluation, you see where you got. When you don't do that and you are interrupted by noise, oh, you need to do that, you need to do that, this investor said like that, this partner said, this customer said, you're losing focus, and actually you will find yourself trying to go in all directions but staying at the same spot, which is not good. It's very difficult because we are, as human, we intercept, we hear a lot of noises shouted at us, and we are trying to make everyone satisfied. That's not your job. Your job is to stay on target, which is very difficult to do, but it will prove in time, if should you do this, that you have actually accumulated, that you have reached a much further distance than, again, listening to all the noise. I want you to remember something about startups. The one thing startups do their entire life is survive. Startups live in survival mode. Well, we do it for two reasons. One, you would say that you will hopefully get this MVP your partner, your CTO partner promised you. You hope that, well, it's already 4 months, 6 months after the due date, maybe he will give it to you. And second, of course, is that you finally reach the fundraising that you wanted to do, to reach more funds. Well, I think that we do that too quick, and I will talk about it in a few minutes. I want to say something that also I see very often. We as people, we count too much about what others tell us. Meaning sometimes because we're just lazy or just we don't care, but I think startups cannot go this way. Meaning you cannot rely building your startup on hearsay and what others tell you. You need to go and you need to check yourself. And in many times you will be surprised that the information you receive from someone who heard it from someone that someone else told him does not meet the reality. Go and meet the reality yourself. On the core subjects, you don't listen to anyone before you check it yourself. Once you checked it, once you got some experience and knowledge, then it's of course fine to ask others their opinion on what you've learned, or maybe compare with others, but go and learn yourself. Your team is key. Your team in your startup is your key for success. You need to remember, your team is people. First of all, to say, as we say, startups are first of all people before technology, because without the people there is no technology. Even the person who needs to write to ChatGPT what to say is a person that needs to put the question or give the mission to the AI. So still people are involved. But because this is a business about people. People are diverse. They have a good day, they have a bad day. They decide one minute this way, they want to go then the other minute the other way. Mania, depressia every hour. People are complicated. You need to be ready to handle this fact and not disregard it. People are not robots. People have feelings, and you in your startup, my advice to you, first of all, discuss it. Keep it in the open. Don't shut the door. Don't expect your partner to be like you. It's impossible. It's not even reasonable. But address the topic. You need to have someone next to you, as we say, your partner, to pick you up on bad days when you pick them up on their bad days. Just remember, startups are very much about people. For this, by the way, we have founders agreement, and I would guess that many of you still don't have a founders agreement. I urge you to have one, and there is where you will write, each and every one of you, what's its role, what it needs to do, what's the responsibility, what happens if one of us leave, what happens to the equity. But very much so, this is kind of your Bible to begin with. This is where you write your agreements to begin with, when everyone is still happy and smiley and friendly. Well, you would need to look at it at bad times. I hope you will not reach it, but just know that startups usually reach that point where they need to open the founders agreement and say, hey, you're not keeping to what you signed, you're not keeping to your responsibility, you're not delivering, etc., etc. So just remember, founders agreement is a very important document that you need to have in place. I think the next stage is, if you look at a company or as a startup, as we said, so we start with the problem, solution, we validate, we go and start to develop something, we go for the market. Around it all the time will be the team that will grow. Then there will be customers, first customers, maybe design partners, but then customers. And customers are, well, they should be your best friends, but just remember, we say that your customer is always right. I'm here to tell you, no, customers sometimes, well, although he could be right, he could be a big nuisance. He could be a big disturbance. Don't go for the difficult customers. Don't go for the stubborn. Don't go for those who make you go back and forth with requests. They are not right for you at this point. At this point, you need to have customers that like you, customers that want to help you, customers that see the value, that support you. Look for those. At the later stage, hopefully you will reach everyone and make everyone super satisfied. But at this point, you need to have customers. You need to, in a way, grow with them, be attentive to them. But again, be friendly with those who are friendly. And those who are less friendly, you don't need to work with everyone. Remember this. You don't need to service everyone on the planet. Go in the beginning for the easy ones. At the later stage, of course, you will open a company, you will register your company. Many times I'm asked, when is the right time to register a company? My advice to you would be, either you have a customer that is willing to pay, meaning you need to give an invoice. For this, you have to have a company. And second would be, if an investor comes to you and wants to invest, then of course you will have to have a company. At this point, I would say something about investors and my experience generally. I think startups rush for investors too soon. Too soon, not just because of the reason that the bigger the risk, the more equity the investor will take for smaller money. I think they rush because they have not yet validated the right way that their technology, their idea can, as we say, hold water. That it should really become something. So I urge you again, your mission as a startup is not to run after the money. Your mission as a startup is to build technology, is to find the problem, make up a solution, develop it, launch it, have first adopters, get some substance before you rush to any investor. And again, not all investors are for you. Not everyone showing you euros is for you. You need to realize at the end, you did not come to work for anyone. This investor He doesn't join to become the CEO of the company. He's not joining to become the manager. And I know all of you like to say that we look for the smart money. Okay, that's a nice sentence. I would advise you to get a good advice from an investor before you take his money. I would advise you to get good recommendation from an investor before you take the money. Just as a note, generally investors and in this way would be private, angel investors as I called, or VC, venture capitals. Generally, they would like you to reach to them, not directly, but to be recommended, preferably by a startup that they have already invested in. Their minds say that if you came through a startup that they invested in, that startup already told you how they like to make their investment, how they like to see the presentation, and what stage should be your product, and how mature should be the company, what would be the composition of the team, and more and more and more. This is the assumption. So make yourself a good habit. If you want to reach an investor, an angel investor or a VC, find a startup that they invested in, talk to them, learn from them how to reach this investor, and then move on. But going back to the point, don't rush after investors. You're doing it usually too early. You're supposed to be capable enough to glue together a person with an idea and a person with the capability to develop, join team together and make a product. Yes, and to launch it. Now, honestly to say, I didn't see too many startups that went through this phase without at least running after the money, and even less succeeding to reach the money. But I do see here and there are startups that actually did not raise money from anyone. They came together as a team, quickly did the validation, started programming, reached the market, launched it, and just kept on running and actually receiving money, income from the product itself and building a company. We know statistically that from an idea to an exit would be about 8 to 10 years, meaning that you have enough time to start in the way I propose to you and not rush immediately after the money. Second of all, you should be considering the fact that an investor, although not joining the company to manage it, will still care for his money, which means that now you need to report to someone. Now it's not you doing what you want. It's not you going to holiday whenever you want. It's not you changing the team whenever you want. Now you have another persona that has something to do about what you do in your company. You have another entity that you need to report to. In some cases, you will need to have his or they agreement. So you need to realize, it's not okay, I got the money, now I can do whatever I want. I can start taking 10,000 euro salary, forget about it. Not going to happen. The opposite is going to happen. Okay? The opposite is going to happen from the fact that now, instead of being agile, very, very easy and quick to change, this will change. There is no, we can do that, let's have a night of, I don't know, pizza and cola and whatever. Now you need to look like a company because this investor has a reputation. And his reputation should be also kept by you. Moving on. In this process of building your company, which is the technology mainly when you think about it, there is also the branding side. You should also give attention to build your brand. You need to build your social presence. The social presence in time as you grow will serve you good when you will run after investors for the money and when you will like to grow your number of customers, then you need to have a social presence. Don't push it aside. Have a nice landing page. You don't need a website. A landing page is good enough, but do it in a professional way. Have a professional presentation, one that will talk about money facing investors, and then you can have another for the rest of the world, or have it just one and hide slides that you don't want to show or need to show whenever you need. Then have your social, mainly it would be LinkedIn. This is where we, the business network. This is definitely where you need to be. But don't forget that when you meet an investor or when you meet a customer, the first thing that we as people do when we meet someone else is to introduce ourselves. Learn to introduce yourself before you introduce the company, before you introduce the technology. So often I talk to startups and I say, okay, let's start the meeting. Tell me about yourself. So usually they will say, my name is so-and-so, and okay, so this is what I do. No, this is not a presentation of yourself. Learn to present yourself. Give a little bit of background. Speak about your academic achievements, your degrees, should you have diplomas. Talk about your experience, your work experience, but your work experience needs to relate to the role that you do in the company and to what you do generally. Did you learn something? You work somewhere, and from working there, you learned about the problem, and then you develop your startup, your company. It's important that you will be able to talk about yourself. It's important that you will be able to talk about your team. Okay, not just to mention I'm so and so and so and then say about your partner, that's his name, he learned something and moving on. No, you need to show respect. You need to be able to speak about your team. Yeah, moving on. Taking risks. Well, I know that you know that 95% of startups shut down first year of operation. That is crazy. Yes, it's a lot about taking risk, and probably you will fail. You should be able to think and consider the fact that right now, when things still look nice and you're in early stage and you did a nice presentation and you went through an accelerator, and you need to remember there will be a time when you will be standing by yourself. Okay, there will not be an accelerator anymore, and you will need to do what you need to do. And at that stage, the risk is just going to grow and it's going to be big. You need to be able to handle the risk factor. You need to be able to consider and deal with the possibility of failure. This cannot stop you. Failure is a major building block for success. You should reflect about failures. You need to learn, why did I fail? But it is same important to learn, why did I succeed? Because this would be your day-to-day. Sometimes you will lose and sometimes you will win. In some you will fail, in some you succeed. You need to reflect on the whole picture, on the bigger picture, and understand where you need to do more of something or less of something. But again, failure is okay. Taking risk is a must. Well, we take risk all the time, we just don't think about it. When it comes to startups, all of a sudden we speak about fencing the risk and what to do if I will fail. Handle it. Just handle it and move forward. Don't let this hold you back, and don't let you, free your mind. You should hope to succeed. You should dream about making big money. This is part of the fuel that motivates you to move forward. It's a must. Feel good about it, own it, but at the same time know that you might fail and it is okay. You will stand up again and you will do it probably even better. What can help you, let's say, reduce the failing factor? Well, definitely, as we said, the team is super important. Staying focused, moving fast is super important. Being agile, but again, not too much. Moving fast does not mean that we don't look at the signs of warning. Yes, we should slow down. We should look at the sign. We should understand, maybe reflect, maybe talk about it, and then decide. It is okay again to shift and pivot, but again, not too much. It's important to be agile. So if we hear the competition did something, maybe we should address it. If we see an opportunity, probably we need to move fast, remain agile, but keep a core, keep a target, have a roadmap, have a work plan. Now, as I said, what can also help you would be mentors. Now, mentors are not there to take the responsibility from you. Mentors are not insurance company. Mentors are people just more experienced than you. And by the way, also investors can be your mentors. So mentors in general would be people that are more experienced, more of age, that is clear, that are willing to share with you this information. And in many times they even can become in some sort of way either a consultant or maybe even a part of the advisory board or even of the company. But those mentors are not for life. So each and every one of them would probably be able to help you for a certain period of the way. Use them as much as you can for that period of the way, but I'm not saying use without giving something in return. You should have a kind of a relationship with your mentors, which is very important. Take from their network, take from their experience, and see how that can serve you. And it's okay to change mentors as you go. Startups are not for everyone. It again should be considered like that. Startups is an opportunity. Startups is about technology and innovation, but startups needs to have also a unique character of people. And again, it's not for everyone. I would advise you to keep on and try it as much as you can. If you decided at the end that's not for you and you want to work for someone or go somewhere else, it is okay. Feel good about it. At least you tried. It doesn't mean that you have failed. If you have tried something, it's not for your taste, you move on. I would advise those who remain in startups, again, as I said, also invest in yourself, invest in learning. Participate in events that can teach you, but don't spend your time on conferences that have no meaning for you. Just, okay, I went to a conference, and if you go to a conference, you should have yourself a plan. You should know who you want to meet, and if this person is not coming to the conference, don't go to the conference. Don't go to the conference just to get a badge, eat something and say, I've been to a conference. If you say you're going to network in a conference, go and network. Don't go and stand there and talk to your friends, because that's not networking. But generally, again, I know startuppers, and they are very unique breed of people, okay? Super on many things. I think in some cases more than others, definitely. Yes, they make mistake. Yes, they fail, but they also succeed, okay? It is about stamina, it's about resilience, it's about determination, it's about working independently, but also as a team. And in the end, it's about being successful and hopefully rich. So again, this is my wish for you. We say start running fast and then accelerate even more. As you know, my slogan would be don't hesitate, accelerate. At this point, I want to stop here and again congratulate you on your success at this point, and I wish for you all great success moving forward. I would like you very much, should you have a question, would you like to get yourself introduced with me, reach out to me. My social networks, you will easily find me on LinkedIn. You will find me, of course, on Facebook, and you can go even to my website, talcatran.com, and keep in touch. So thank you so much, and see you when I see you. Bye for now.